After the border towns, Tehran became the bombers' main target. Together with the other people in our building, we turned the basement into a shelter. Every time the siren rang out, everyone would run downstairs. Put your cigarette out. They say that the glow of a cigarette is the easiest thing to see from the sky. But we're in the basement here. And once it was over... Well, no one's answering. I'm fine. Oh, those poor people. Lucky nothing happened to you. He wants to talk to you. After the bombs and the instinctive fear of death, you think of the victims and another kind of anxiety seized you. It wasn't just the basements. The interiors of homes also changed. But it wasn't only because of the Iraqi planes. Mom, what are you doing? The masking tape is to protect against flying glass during a bombing, and the black curtains are to protect us from our neighbors. What neighbors? Across the street, they're totally devoted to the new regime. A glimpse of what goes on in our house would be enough for them to denounce us. You know Tanush's dad? Tanush. Yeah, what about him? The other night, 2 guardians of the Revolution patrols paid them a visit. Someone told us you were planning a party. You know that is strictly forbidden. They found records and video cassettes at their place, a deck of cards, a chess set. In other words, everything that's banned. Get your ass in the car, move. Excuse me, sir? Shut up, slut. It earned him 75 lashes. His wife cried so much that they finally let her off with a hefty fine. But he can't walk anymore. Now you see why I'm putting up the curtains? With the parties we have on Thursdays and the card games on Mondays, we have to be careful. In spite of all the dangers, the parties went on. Without them, it wouldn't be psychologically bearable, some said. Without parties, we might as well just bury ourselves now, added the others. My uncle invited us to his house to celebrate the birthday of my cousin. Everyone was there, even Grandma was dancing. Damn power outage! Be careful where you step. Oh, no more music. Don't worry about it. I'll go get the zarb. A zarb is a kind of drum. My father played it very well, like a pro. We had everything, well, everything that was forbidden, even alcohol, gallons of it. My uncle was the vintner. He had built a genuine wine-making lab in his basement. Miss Nasreen, who was also his cleaning lady, crushed the grapes. God forgive me, God forgive me. Suddenly, sirens started to wail, and my aunt did too. It's all right, stay calm. I found myself with the newborn baby we had been celebrating in my arms. Her mother had already abandoned her. Since that day, I've had doubts about the so-called maternal instinct. After the alert, we went home. She's completely nuts. Did you see how she dropped the baby? That was pretty incredible. My poor brother isn't exactly spoiled. Halt! Open the door and get out. ID, registration, and driver's license. Okay. Go, Been drinking, have we? No, absolutely not. You think I'm stupid? I can tell by your tie. Piece of westernized trash. I won't take that from you. For 20 years, I've worked for this country, and you dare to talk to me like that. Forgive him. Shut up. Forgive him. Listen, I could be your mother. How old are you? 16? My daughter is 12. Forgive him. You're lucky to have this woman for your wife. Otherwise, you'd already be in hell. Thanks so much. You say you haven't been drinking. We're going to see what you have at home. Grandma, Margie, when we're home, get out first. I'll try to stall him. Flush all the alcohol down the toilet. But how? Don't worry, dear. I'm used to it. When your father was alive, I was always hiding his tracks. They followed us all the way home. Must you really come upstairs? Our elderly neighbor has a heart condition. If he's frightened by the noise, it could kill him. Hurry up. Where do you two think you're going? I have diabetes, my boy. If I don't drink a little syrup, I'm going to faint. Diabetes, just like my mother. So you understand it's urgent. Go ahead. It was a miracle. Hurry up, I don't know how much longer your father can stall them. Hurry, hurry. And the final touch? Here they come. Where's the guy? Where indeed? Their faith has nothing to do with ideology. A few bills were all he needed to forget the whole thing. Hey, you didn't throw it all out. Yep. No more? Nope. My God, I need a pick-me-up. The war had been going on for 2 years. We were used to it. I was growing up, and I even had friends older than me. Yesterday on the news, they said we destroyed 13 Iraqi planes. Right after, on the BBC, I heard that in fact, the Iraqis had shot down 2 of ours. It's perfectly clear. Every day they tell us that we've destroyed 10 planes and 5 tanks. If you start from the beginning of the war, that makes 6,000 planes and 3,000 tanks destroyed. Even the Americans don't have an army this big. I get it, I'm going to tell my dad that one. Hey, there's the bell. Don't you have class? No, we've got physical education, but we're not going. We're going for burgers. Burgers? They also have hot dogs. All you needed was some money. Yeah, at Kansas on Jordan Avenue. Don't look at me like that. We'll climb the wall. The wall? If I wanted to be friends with 14-year-olds, I had to do it. I wasn't chicken, so I followed them. I had already broken the rules once by going to the demonstration in '79. This was the second time. Jordan Avenue was where the teenagers from North Tehran, the nice neighborhoods, hung out. Kansas was its temple. If some public places had survived the regime's repression, either it was to leave us a little free space or else it was out of ignorance. Personally, the latter theory sounded more likely. They probably hadn't the slightest idea what Kansas was. Did you see his hair? Just like Rod Stewart. Yeah, if he gets caught, he'll get a buzz cut. In spite of everything, kids were trying to look hip, even under risk of arrest. My friends weren't actually that interested in the hamburgers. We let the boys know that they could follow us by a few signs. Follow the others, I mean. I was too young to interest them. The sirens went off. What the hell are you doing? Hit the dirt! We had been told that if we were in the street during a bombing, we should lie in the gutter for safety. Ha, you chicken! The wonderful day was spoiled by my mom. So how was school? Okay, why? You dare to lie straight to my face? I'm not lying. So maybe it's me who cut class? What class? You tell me the truth right now, or else you'll be punished twice. My mother used the same tactics as the torturers. But all I had was religion class. I don't give a damn. You don't cut class. And you just lied again. The school called and said you had grammar this afternoon. I had said religion to try to make my mother less angry, but it hadn't worked. This time I covered for you, but it's the last time. Now is the time for learning. You have your whole life to have fun. What are you going to be when you grow up? In this country, you have to know everything better than anyone else if you're going to survive. Didn't you meet Dad when you were 14? You're not 14, so I'm 12. Dictator, you are the guardian of the revolution of this house. Somewhat later, the Iranian army has retaken Khorramshahr for the 4th time this month. Even if it's true, what difference does it make to us? May I go to the basement, ma'am? Yes, Miss Satrapi. The basement was my hideaway. As it turned out, they did retake Khorramshahr. We all thought that the war would finally end. In fact, Iraq proposed the settlement, and Saudi Arabia was willing to pay for reconstruction to restore peace to the area. But our government was against it. They declared, "We refuse this imposed peace. We shall conquer Karbala," a Shiite holy city in Iraq. So we plunged deeper into war. The walls were suddenly covered with belligerent slogans. The one that struck me most by its gory imagery was, "To die a martyr is to inject blood into the veins of society." They eventually admitted that the survival of the regime depended on the war. When I think we could have avoided it all, it just makes me sick. 1 million people would still be alive. Naturally, the regime became more repressive. In the name of that war, they exterminated the enemy within. Those who opposed the regime were systematically arrested and executed together. As for me, I sealed my act of rebellion against my mother's dictatorship by smoking the cigarette I'd stolen from my uncle 2 weeks earlier. It was awful, but this was not the moment to give in. With this first cigarette, I kissed childhood goodbye. Now I was a grown-up. July 1982. We were at my aunt's place. The internal war had become a bigger issue than the war against Iraq. Anyone showing the slightest resistance to the regime was persecuted. There must be a lot of people in the opposition in our neighborhood. We hear gunshots every day. Tahir, stop smoking. The stress I get from every gunshot I hear is much worse for me than the cigarettes. Since he had sent his oldest son to Holland, Uncle Tahir had had 2 heart attacks. He was absolutely forbidden to smoke. The butcher told me he's seen kids executed in the street without even having been judged. The shame of it. When I think about it, I'm glad that my son is safely abroad. But with the borders closed, how am I ever going to see him again? The borders were closed for 3 years between 1980 and 1983. How many times did I say to my wife, "Come on, let's join him"? She didn't want to. She invoked her country, her family, etc., etc. Anyway, I'm already 59, but those poor 20-year-olds who get slaughtered, they kill me. They kill me. My Uncle Tahir was so sad that it hurt to look at him. No one dared to say a word. Some days later, what are you thinking? About Tahir, his son leaving has done him in. I've never seen him like that. Can you imagine a 13, 14-year-old child alone in a country where he doesn't even speak the language? At 14, you don't need your parents anymore. Get real, up to a certain age, you need your parents. Then later, they need you. You'd be better off without nail polish. You could get arrested. I'll put my hands in my pockets. Pretty stubborn girl, huh? Where do you suppose she gets that? Sometimes it scares me how blunt she is. It'll help her later on. You'll see. I am so lucky to be married to a man like you. You're so sensitive, the kindest man on earth. How can you be insensitive to the woman you love? Ring, ring. It always rings at the wrong time. Good Lord, again? What? Uncle Tahir had just suffered his third heart attack. We were off to the hospital. Red Crescent trucks were pulled up in front of the hospital, calling for people to give blood for the war wounded. There were so many of them. Give blood, give blood, give blood. I felt both angry and embarrassed. Once inside the hospital, I felt even worse. I'm looking for Mr. Talish's room. Talishi? That's 342, third floor. At the end of the hall to the right. They threw a grenade. They wanted to arrest some communists who were hiding near our place, and they threw a grenade. Tahir couldn't deal with it. When I came into the living room, he was lying on the floor. He needs open heart surgery, but they're not equipped here. They told me that he has to be sent to England. To do that, he needs a permit. They gave me the name of the hospital director. If he agrees, Tahir will get a passport so he can go. Since the borders were closed, only very sick people, if they got a permit from the health ministry, were allowed to leave. It's on the 4th floor, number 406. Only my aunt was allowed in. She had a big surprise. The director was her former window washer. She acted as if she didn't recognize him to avoid offending him. My husband had his third heart attack. He needs medical care outside the country. We'll do our best. If God wills it, he'll get better. Everything depends on God. I need your authorization so he can get a passport, if God wills it. All that creepy window washer had to do to become a director of the hospital was to grow a beard and put on a suit. The fate of my husband depends on a window washer. Now he's so religious that he won't look a woman in the eye. The pathetic fool. After the director, we went to see the chief of staff, Dr. Fathi. Ma'am, we will do what we can. We are terribly strapped at the moment. Look in this room. They're all victims of chemical weapons. The Germans sell chemical weapons to Iran and Iraq. The wounded are then sent to Germany to be treated. Veritable human guinea pigs. Why are you telling me this? I couldn't care less. I want my husband to get well. Calm down. Calm down, dear. Everything will be alright. Don't worry. We'll be right back. We went to see an acquaintance of my father's, Khosrow. His brother and my uncle Anush were in prison together during the reign of the Shah. Ebi, the brother of Anush, come in, come in. Since they shut down my publishing company, I've been printing fake passports. Big sellers. You want one? Not me, my brother-in-law. When they let him out, my brother started going to counter-revolutionary demonstrations. He told me that the chief of the new executioners was his torturer in the Shah's prison. He saw it with his own eyes. He said, Khosrow, I can't take anymore. I made him a fake passport, and he sought political asylum in Sweden. Look, Ebi, a whole month's work just for the stamp. How much time will it take to make a passport? A week. You can come in. They're friends. This is Nolafar. Her brother was my messenger boy. They are looking all over for her because she's a communist. I let her stay in my basement. She's 18, the same age as my daughter, Mandana. Khosrow's daughter had left with her mother right after the revolution. They've been searching the houses of everyone in her family. This is the only place she's safe. After negotiating a price the equivalent of about $200, Khosrow agreed to make a passport in 5 days. We went back to the hospital feeling a little better. So, I saw Khosrow. He can make a passport for Tahir by Wednesday. He's come too. He wants to see you. See, it's not the cigarettes that did it. It was that damn grenade. Don't upset yourself. Talk about something else. Look at how little Margie is growing up. One day she'll leave and you'll see how hard it is to lose your kids. I have only one wish, and that's to see my son again, one last time. 2 days later, Nilüfer, the 18-year-old communist, was spotted, arrested, and executed. Khosrow found his house ransacked, fled across the mountains to Turkey, and sought asylum with his brother in Sweden. He never got to make the passport. 3 weeks after these events, Uncle Tahir was buried. His real passport arrived the same day. He never got to see his son. A year after my uncle died, the borders were reopened. My parents ran to get passports. Look at the last page. It is strictly forbidden to travel in occupied Palestine with this document. My God, just look at me in this picture with the scarf on my head. Can I see? She sure didn't look very happy. In fact, she was unrecognizable. As soon as I get my passport, we'll go on a big trip. Well, actually, we want to spend some time together. Just the two of us for a few days. Where? Turkey. But Turkey's for the birds. Only uncool people go to Turkey. If you're taking a trip, why not go to Europe or the United States? If you want us to bring you back some presents, just ask. What can you bring me back from Turkey? Shish kebabs? Listen, Margie, where do you think all the hip stuff you like comes from? During the war, there were no imports from the West. A denim jacket, chocolate, a poster, no, 2 posters, one of Kim Wilde and one of Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden? Those 4 brutes? They're not brutes. I really like what they do. You like that? I love it. See, Mom? First thing after they got to Istanbul, they went to buy posters. I'm glad we found just what she wanted. Absolutely, it's so hard for kids in Iran, the poor things. Tell me the truth, you really like Iron Maiden? Absolutely, you hypocrite. I wonder how we're going to get them past customs. I've been wondering myself. They're enormous. As soon as they were in the hotel, they set to finding a way. We could fold them and hide them in the lining of the suitcase. Fold them? That will leave Mark. She'll be disappointed. We could just carry them under our arms and act natural. Under our arms? Come on. And then my mother had a great idea. Take off your coat. What are you doing? Wait, you'll see. She tore out the lining. Then she placed the 2 posters behind it, and then sewed it back in. You're sure I look normal? You just look like you're wearing shoulder pads. It's stylish. Arriving at Tehran's Mehrabad airport, I'm walking like Frankenstein. No, you're not. You look completely natural. Place your bags on the table. Stay calm. So what have you got with you? Alcohol, playing cards, music, film, chess set, magazines? Nothing, just personal affairs. You're sure you've got nothing illegal? Nope. No. You realize that if I find anything illegal, I'll... Sir, please, do we really look like smugglers? Alright, take your luggage and go. Mom, Dad. Back home. Here, this is for you. Nike's latest edition. And this? Wow, Michael Jackson? And here's your denim jacket. Cool. What about my posters? Abby, bring your coat. Be careful. I wanted posters, not photos. You just wait. Far out. Dad, you're a genius. Thank your mother. It was her idea. Thank you, Mom. So how was Turkey? Great. It was a little cold, but it was nice. I love Turkey. I put my posters up in my room. I put my 1983 Nikes on, and my denim jacket with the Michael Jackson button, and of course, my headscarf. So what do you think? Nice, very cute. Okay, I'm going out. Where? To buy some tapes. Where? Not far on Gandhi Avenue. Be back in an hour. I'll be back in 2 hours. For an Iranian mother, my mom was very permissive. I only knew 2 or 3 other girls who could go out alone at 13. For a year now, the food shortage had been resolved by the growth of the black market. However, finding tapes was a little more complicated. On Gandhi Avenue, you could find them sometimes. I bought 2 tapes, Kim Wilde and Camel. How much? 110 Tumans. We're the kids in America. You stop! They were guardians of the revolution, the woman's branch. This group had been added in 1982 to arrest women who were improperly veiled, like me, for example. Their job was to put us back on the straight and narrow by explaining the duties of Muslim women. Why are you wearing those punk shoes? What punk shoes? Those. But these are sneakers. Shut up, they're punk. It was obvious that she had no idea what punk was. There was no alternative. I had to lie. I wear these because I play basketball. I'm on my school's team. Oh sure, I can tell by your height. And you wear this jacket for basketball too? What do I see here? Michael Jackson? That symbol of decadence. No, it's Malcolm X, the leader of black Muslims in America. Don't give me that. It's Michael Jackson. Who? I don't know him. Back then, Michael Jackson was still black. Lower your scarf, you little whore. Aren't you ashamed to wear tight jeans like these? They shrink. Go on, get in the car. We're taking you down to the committee. The committee was the headquarters of the Guardians of the Revolution. At the committee, they don't have to inform my parents. They could detain me for hours or days. I could be whipped. In short, anything could happen to me. It was time for action. I'm sorry, ma'am. I'll never do it again. Get in the car. Ma'am, my mother's dead. My stepmother is really cruel. And if I don't go home right away, she'll kill me. She'll burn me with the clothes iron. She'll make my father put me in an orphanage. Maybe she believed me, maybe she just pretended to, but miraculously she let me go. Back home. Margie, what happened? Have you been crying? No, Mom, I'm just tired. I'm going to my room. There was no way I could tell the truth. She never would have let me go out again. I got off pretty easy considering the Guardians of the Revolution didn't find my tapes. To each his own way of calming down. To keep us from forgetting that we were at war, Iraq opted for a new strategy. I heard they're going to use ballistic missiles against us. What are you saying? We're not at war with the Soviet Union. I don't believe the Iraqis have weapons like that. From the Iraqi border to Tehran, it's thousands of miles. Missiles that can go that far cost a fortune. Well, that's what the rumors say. We Iranians are Olympic champions when it comes to gossip. She's right, we love to exaggerate. You seem to have the opposite symptom. Why do you say that? Even when you see something with your own eyes, you need confirmation from the BBC. My natural optimism just leads me to be skeptical. Mom's pessimism soon won out over Dad's optimism. It turned out that the Iraqis did have missiles. They were called Scuds, and Tehran became their target. When the sirens went on, it meant we had 3 minutes to know if the end had come. We're not going to the basement? It wouldn't make any difference. Considering the damage they do, whether we're in the basement or on the roof, it's the same thing. The 3 minutes seemed like 3 days. For the first time, I realized just how much danger we were in. Boom. I don't want to die. You won't dare, I promise you. Now that Tehran was under attack, many fled. The city was deserted. As for us, we stayed. Not just out of fatalism. If there was to be a future, in my parents' eyes, that future was linked to my French education, and Tehran was the only place I could get it. Some people, more circumspect, took shelter in the basements of big hotels, well known for their safety. Apparently, their reinforced concrete structures were bomb-proof. One example was our neighbors, the Baba Levis. They were among the few Jewish families that had stayed after the revolution. Mr. Baba Levy said their ancestors had come 3,000 years ago and Iran was their home. Their daughter, Nada, was a quiet girl who didn't play much, but we would talk about romance from time to time. One day a blonde prince with blue eyes will come and take me to his castle. Oh yeah, me too. So life went on. On one day, like any other, Mom, can I have some money? I want to get some jeans. And espadrilles. How much? Oh, 1,000. 1,200 tumans. 1,000 tumans? Yeah, that's how much they cost. I see. Our currency had lost all its value. It was 7 tumans to the dollar. When the Shah was still around, 4 years later, it was 110 tumans to the dollar. For my mother, the change was so sudden that she had a hard time accepting it. I went with my friend Shadi. So, how do they look? They look super. Okay, I'll take the jeans and the earrings. And I'll take that ring there. We were in the midst of shopping euphoria when suddenly, a missile has just exploded in the Tavernier neighborhood. What? Tavernier was where I lived. The jeans! If someone had timed me, I think I would have beat the world speed record. Taxi! Faster, please, hurry. A crowd had gathered in front of my street. The bomb had hit my street. Ma'am, which building was hit? Apparently, it exploded at the end of the street. My building and Baba Levy's were at the end of the street. Let me through. 1 chance in 2 that it was our building. Please let me through. You can't go beyond this point. I live here. And he let me through. I didn't want to look up. I looked at my trembling legs. I couldn't go forward, like in a nightmare. Let them be alive. Let them be alive. Let them. Margie. Mom! Margie! You're alright. Dad's alright. Grandma's alright. Everyone's okay. I was the only one home. Oh, Mom. Where did it hit? At Baba Levy's house. At least they weren't home. Mom, they weren't, right? Well, I don't know. It's Saturday, you know. I know it's Saturday, so? Saturday is the Jewish Sabbath. Wherever they are, Jews are supposed to go home. You think that? It's true that they weren't very observant. I think you're right. They must have stayed at the Hilton. You know the tape I put on the windows? It worked perfectly. All the windows are broken, but there's not a piece of broken glass in the house. I could tell that my mother was trying to change the subject. When we walked past Baba Levy's house, which was completely destroyed, I could feel that she was discreetly pulling me away. Something told me that Baba Levy had been at home. Something caught my attention. I saw a turquoise bracelet. It was Nada's. Her aunt had given it to her for her 14th birthday. The bracelet was still attached to I don't know what. No scream in the world could have relieved my suffering and my anger.